We're in the NFL, which is week 2. Dan, I don't know if there were many surprises in week 1, only because the lines were out for so long. You know, couple of tight games, a lot of unders, and I think that was because of sloppy play and no preseason. And there were a couple of teams that lost by double digits. So I'm looking at this week, Dan, a couple of teams that now are underdogs after losing last week, and also teams that lost by double digits, how they bounce back. So those are a couple of things that I'm looking at for this week. And not to mention the injury to Aaron Rodgers has shaken up the entire NFL, AFC, and AFC East as well. So a very, I guess, line-altering week 1, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, look, it was a big week. It was, in my opinion, one of the at least more surprising weeks for me. I mean, look, I did terribly. I'll just be honest. I'll own it. I did terribly. I did not do well. I was surprised by some of the things that happened. The Patriots getting railroaded by the refs was, in my opinion, horrendous. Two horrendous holding calls to, in my opinion, ruin that game. Really, 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 just I thought terrible from the referees there. I'm surprised about how bad the Minnesota Vikings looked. I really did think they would be better. I'm surprised the Washington Commanders actually held on to win that game, but that is not a good team. Obviously, the Aaron Rodgers stuff is pretty awful. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot that's going on. You guys are gonna have to excuse me a little bit. They kicked me out of the studio because they're being a bunch of fucking assholes today. Don't know why. They're doing apparently another sports gambling show here that probably won't be successful because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about, and so they kicked me out. And so I'm in another studio today. Sorry if it sounds weird, and unfortunately, my computer that I usually use is the one in here is frozen, so I'm fighting it right now. I'm in a fucking pissed off mood, and yeah, we'll start there, but. Yeah, I'm not happy about what's going on right now. Getting kicked out of the studio that I was in first for some bullshit podcast that no one gives a fuck about.
All right, let's get into it. We got the Vikings and the Eagles. You mentioned both. Eagles right now 7-point favorites. And yeah, I thought the Vikings were disappointing. This is primetime Kirk Cousins, right? This is somewhat of a fade spot. I am kind of curious if Philadelphia played a vanilla defense against the Pats or didn't know what they were doing. The coordinators, I think, were an issue in the game, no doubt. And here they are now, 7-point home favorites after spread against another NFC opponent. This game's curious to me. And last year, if you remember this was week 2, same matchup. Philadelphia won 24-7. Same spot, same everything. I feel like 7's a lot, Dan, on prime time. The total's 49.5, so I feel like both teams, should score. I don't know if it's going to go over, but I just feel like 7's a lot, but this is the Kirk Cousins prime time. People, generally fade that. I just, one team lost, one team won. I generally feel like the team that lost bounces back in these situations, but it's still a little early for me. But I don't know if I trust the 7, even though the Eagles covered last week.
I think you need to refresh your odds. That no longer 40, it's 48.5. I think our 49.5, no longer 49.5. It's 49 or 48.5. So I think we should make sure we get these right moving forward.
Dan, I'm on DraftKings, bro, and this is the current odds that I have, and I've hit refresh, and yeah, we're at 7 and 49.
Okay, yeah, okay. Just making sure. It was 48.5 or 49. It's 48. It's 48.5 everywhere else. So I think that's probably the line we should use. But look, yeah. Here's the thing. I think Philly is in for a world of trouble. I told you, I don't think they're going to be very good this year. I thought they were extremely lucky week one. I thought they were extremely lucky to cover that game. I thought they were lucky to win that game. The Pats had some sloppy play early on. Obviously, the Zeke Elliott fumble, I think, changed that entire game. Early on, after they throw the pick six, they basically have two turnovers in 2 plays it was. So, I mean, to me, that the pick six, bad throw by Mac Jones, gets tipped and picked off for pick six. Fine. I mean, it was a bad throw. It's going to happen. That's 100% on Mac. The fumble is the backbreaker because it's two turnovers in 2 plays. To me, but Philadelphia just isn't a good team. I don't think they're going to be very good this year. Teams that lose both corners usually aren't. And yeah, I'll be honest with you, I'm shocked that they got the win. 2 phantom holding calls, in my opinion. The second one on the 2-point conversion where the defender takes down the offensive lineman, they somehow call that a penalty. That was crazy to me. That's crazy to me. But so look, I'm on Minnesota. I know they didn't look good. I'm really concerned about the interior of that offensive line. In my opinion, that's a big problem as well. I would look under in this game if I'm really trying to bet this. Definitely would want a 49 if I'm betting the under here. There are still some 49s in the market, as we just mentioned. DraftKings has a 49 minus 112, although looks like it's going to flip to a 40 and a half pretty soon. But I would say my guess is that this is probably not a very well played game by either team. Philadelphia looks super sloppy. I think defensively they're still dealing with something in the room. There's a sickness going around there, so I think they're still dealing with something in the room. And to be honest with you, I think that Minnesota really needs to figure out their offensive line immediately, or Kirk Cousins might not last. Forget about the season; he might not last 5 or 6 games.
Yeah, we'll see how that one goes. That's a Thursday night game at the moment. I, I I I feel like Eagles somehow are still so talented that they'll be in games. They come back home after making a ton of mistakes. Small lean to the Eagles on me, but what can the Vikings do? I'm actually worried about the Vikings running game. Wondering if that's something that they can somewhat get going a little bit. And I wanted to just look up real quick what they did last week. And another thing about the running game, I feel like the Eagles kind of went away from theirs. Gainwell had like 50 yards in the first half and just completely went away from it. So, but Jefferson had another big day for Minnesota. He had 150 yards through the air in that game. So, Thursday night football is always an interesting one. It's just 7 points is a lot in a primetime game. So, and I just wanted to just quickly, because I was looking at it, I wanted to just see what the Vikings did on the ground, because they're without Dalvin Cook now, which was one of their signature moves this year. They wanted to go with Madison. They wanted to change up what they were doing. He had so many all-purpose yards for them, and I wonder if there's a little bit of an adjustment period for that. And I actually wanted to look how they did, because I know the Bucks have a pretty good run.
Not well.
41 yards total as an offense.
Yeah. On 17 carries, Madison was 11 of 30 for 11 carries, 34 yards. So, I mean, they really did not run the ball well at all against that team. Now, I'd say Tampa is an elite team against the run. I think Philadelphia is a fantastic defensive line, but the one thing you can do on them is run the football a little bit. So, it's hard to apply, apples to apples there, but we'll see.
All right, we'll move on to the old Sunday games, and I'm just pulling up the odds so everybody can see what I'm looking at. The Chiefs are 3-point favorites on the road at the Jaguars, over under 51. This is all at DraftKings right now at the moment. Teams that start 0-2, I've mentioned that there's about a 10% chance of them making the playoffs. Since they've expanded the playoffs in the last 3 years, only 2 teams have made the playoffs starting 0-2. It was the Bengals last year and the Titans. So teams that start 0-2 have an uphill battle. We saw the Jaguars cover it last week, And it was close. It came down to the goal line there. So it certainly could have been a cover for the Colts. But Calvin Ridley looks like a weapon. He looks legit. And what's the status on Travis Kelce at the moment? But the Jaguars, Dan, as a home underdog, it hasn't been good. In general, the Jaguars covering spreads haven't been that great, even though they did it in week 1. So I'm not sure if the Chiefs should be a 3-point favorite in this spot. And the Jags, as a 3-point dog at home, I wonder if people like it in this spot. I just didn't love what the Chiefs looked like on Monday Night Football or Thursday
Yeah,
night
I mean,
last week.
yeah, look, I didn't either. They'll have Chris Jones back. I think the biggest issue for the Chiefs outside of moving the ball offensively was that they could not stop the run, right? I think we all saw that, and people were tweeting about, oh, get Chris Jones back, get Chris Jones back. Well, Chris Jones is going to be back. And I do think that, that's concerning for Jacksonville. Again, was not impressed with what Jacksonville did at all. They let a rookie, in my opinion, tear them apart 24-37, 223, and that's just through the air. I mean, I was really, really, truly unimpressed by what they did. Now, Indy can't run the ball with Deion Jackson. Again, they 13 carries, 14 yards for Deion Jackson. It was just they couldn't run the football. Kansas City is going to be able to run the football with Isaiah Pacheco, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who was used a lot more week 1, I think, more than people thought he was going to be. They had Jerick McKinnon as well. I mean, there are going to be some people there, who can run the football for Kansas City. Again, I thought they played a terrible second half, and I thought the Lions again just played kind of a decent middling second half. They didn't do anything crazy. They ran Montgomery, which again, weird. They really didn't give much ball to Jahmyr Gibbs, who was clearly, I don't know, their most effective player, I thought. But yeah, it was weird. And Mahomes had to move a lot. So I think we're going to see something similar. Mahomes going to have to move a lot. But this is a defense. I mean, the Lions' defense is probably better than the Jaguars defense as it is right now, like especially in the secondary. I'd say the Lions defense is significantly better than the Jaguars defense. So I think this is going to be a big week of adjustments for Jacksonville. I think they're in some serious trouble here. Give me the Chiefs -3 PP. Um, this is not one that I'm parsing words on. I'm very surprised that this number is where it is. It opened 2.5, Joe, and I played the 2.5. It's still at 3. I'll still take 3. I'll play anything up to 3.5 on this game. Personally, I think Kansas City has a chance to blow this team out. Again, I'm going to repeat the same thing. I don't think this team is very good. I don't think Jacksonville is very good this year. I don't think they're going to be very good. Again, a lot of the early action is definitely going to be on Kansas City. We'll probably see some more, some leveling out of that as the week goes on. I'm sure there's plenty of people who want to take Jacksonville later on, but I think Kansas City probably wins this game pretty easily. I'm really not impressed with Jacksonville, whatsoever. 10 negative plays for Trevor Lawrence in the first game. I thought he was terrible. I think they're lucky to get a win there and against a very poor Indy team. Good luck to them this week, especially if Kelce plays.
Yeah, I just feel like it's a little square if you if you look at Jacksonville as a 3-point home dog. Like, look at Jacksonville 3. I think there's a little bit more to it than just that. I also think the Chiefs will bounce back. They're just too good of a team, too talented, and they'll figure it out. And I do feel like Andy Reid feels like he let them down. The clock management, things of that degree. I thought the coaching overall was really bad in the NFL last week. So, and again, they didn't have time. They didn't have time, right? A lot of these teams just didn't have time to prepare. But I will say this though. I wanted to just bring this up real quick. Last year, the Jaguars as a home underdog, they're on a 5-0 streak, averaging 30 points per game. Now, again, that was last year. Yep. You're going up against the Super Bowl champions. So just, and I mentioned how they weren't good at home underdogs. That was up until they've gone on this 5-game winning streak. So that's the Chiefs and the Jaguars. Raiders, Bills. I'm all over the Bills. It's just at what number? Right now, 8.5 on DraftKings, total 46.5. So I like the Bills off the bat. If we're just talking teams and not betting lines, I like the Bills right off the bat. I think they bounce back. And the other thing is, I was looking into it. There was I believe it was the secondary of the Raiders. Even though it was a low scoring game a week ago, early lean on this one, Dan, for me is the Bills. I need a little bit more. But we did. What's Jacoby Meyer's status? He had a pretty big week last week. But dude, this Josh Allen situation, he has been bad the last 10 games. 11 interceptions. I think at times he's playing hero ball, trying to do it all himself. He can't. I don't know. I'd keep my eyes on Josh Allen. I think they bounce back, but at this point, he's played so bad of late.
Yeah, this one's tough for me. I mean, look, I want to take the Bills. It's a good bounce back situation. I'll probably end up on Buffalo, but I mean, right now I'm just waiting to see how far this line dips down. We're at 8.5 already. We might get even lower than that. I really wasn't impressed with Vegas. I thought they won, you know, primarily based off a couple penalty calls that I thought were horrendous on Denver. Really wasn't impressed by Vegas whatsoever. To be perfectly honest with you, I thought it was a pretty even game with Denver. Obviously, the 1 point doesn't surprise you. I mean, yardage, 1 yard difference between the two of them. So it's still early in the morning here. So 1 year difference between the two of them. I mean, they had the exact same amount of first downs. The same amount of penalties. The Raiders did have the one turnover. I really wasn't impressed by the Raiders, to be honest with you, and I would be concerned about them moving forward. They didn't run the ball very well. Josh Jacobs was not effective. 19 carries for 48 yards. I mean that's brutal. So if you go up against this Buffalo team who's going to make you throw the ball, you're going to have to throw the ball against them. They're otherwise going to make you one dimensional, and I just don't think that's sustainable. I thought the Jets got super, super lucky that Josh Allen was just horrendous in that ball game. He was horrendous. So, yes, the question is Allen always going to be horrendous, or is this, is this just a weird stretch for him where he continues to play like this? I think it's really hard to say here, Joe, that this is, a stretch. Maybe Josh Allen isn't as good as we think. And I think that's one of the things that I personally think. I know Stephon Diggs had a fantastic game for them. I was surprised by that. I mean, look, I project still Diggs to have more of a down year this year than he has in the past. And without Diggs, I mean, Allen was really, really bad. Like, he was 19 of, I think, 38 without Diggs. And, had under 100 yards or 130 yards or whatever it was. So it was really, really bad. I really don't know where they go from here, Joe, because Buffalo has to figure this shit out. That being said, the Raiders are pretty terrible. This is a good get right spot for them. Probably Buffalo, honestly. This one, I mean, look, if it gets any lower than 8.5, I think you have to do it.
West Coast to East Coast, all that, throw that in there after back-to-back weeks. Also, I looked this up. The Bills, when they have a loss, an outright loss, generally come back and win the game. There has been 9 instances since the last year and a half. They're 6-1-1 off a loss against the spread. So that's pretty good. But again, this is a Josh Allen right now that's not right. He is just not right. And something kind of smells about that team. I don't know what it is right now, but I do think they bounce back. Here's our team that lost last week by double digits. And then now the Seahawks take on the Lions. I still like the Lions in the spot, man. And I know that's the Seahawks. I know Seattle's off a loss, right? And they're 5.5's the ugly number here. I just feel like the Seahawks, they as a favorite. When I thought I saw this number, right? Whenever they're the favorite, and then the next week how they bounce back from it, it's not good. So I just feel like the 5.5 is trying to get people to bait on that. But I like the Lions, Dan. I was a complete win. People wanted to say it was an asterisk because the Chiefs or whatever, Mike Tirico. I don't like the number 5.5, but I do like the Lions, and I know some people are going to bounce back and take the Seahawks. Right now, I'm circling it. I still like the Lions in the spot.
I mean, I don't like Seattle. Sorry, I don't like Detroit. Again, I think they're being heavily overvalued off one game. They didn't even use their best player well. They got super lucky that Andy Reid really botched that second half. I don't know. I'm not impressed. Now, I told you I was really down on the Seahawks. I took the Rams week one personally. I played them, not huge, but played them, and it obviously won. I'm really down on Geno Smith this year. Again, I don't think that he's going to be great. Seattle's secondary is in a really weird place right now. They didn't have Jamal Adams, so that was a problem for them. Obviously, I think they're going to get him back this week, but who the hell knows? They have to figure out their secondary first and foremost. The one thing I will say is, while Detroit does have an improved secondary, I mean, they're going up against Metcalf, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. We'll see about Tyler Lockett and his status for the game. I haven't heard anything on Lockett. I'm sure most haven't, but we'll see. Devon Witherspoon and Adams are both questionable this week. Charles Cross is questionable. He got carted off with turf toe. So I mean, there are some guys, and Abraham Lucas also questionable too. I think it sounds like he is going to play. So I mean, look, there are some guys here that we really don't know the status of, Joe, and I think that is concerning. I just think that, man, Detroit, they look so good. Brian Branch got hurt in that game, if you remember. Emmanuel Mosley's still questionable. So I mean, those two, in my opinion, that's obviously a real bad sign. In my opinion, especially Branch, they really, really need him to be effective. He was the one who got the pick six in the game there. And the Chiefs are not, and obviously there's no Kadarius Toney to tip the ball to them and basically win the game. I mean, Toney might have been, the Lions' best player in that game. I think it was like a negative 2.3 EPA per play or whatever it was. It was EPA per whatever target, I think you should say. I mean, he was horrendous in that game. I think he was the Lions' best player. So I just think Seattle will be better. I'm not going to PP it yet, but I definitely like the Seattle bounce back. Everyone is so high on Detroit now. Oh, they're so good. Yeah. You're gonna be very, very disappointed about how not great this team is by the end of the year.
Well, remember last year the two teams met. It was a 48-45 game. So, and the Lions were one of the best home teams last year as far as scoring goes. So the total's at 47. Games in Detroit last year, Dan, averaged 58.4 points per game.
Yeah, there was a big move on this game from 50 and a half, 51 down to 47, 47 and a half. So big move on the total.
But I feel like the Lions defense is better. Isn't the Lions defense better though? I feel like they're better.
Yeah, I mean it definitely is. And I think the team is better, but they just lost Brian Branch. It doesn't sound like he's going to play this week. I know he's listed as questionable, but the rumor in the street is that he's not going to play. I thought the coaching, again, Dan Campbell just makes some baffling decisions in games. Go for it early, but then kick it late. Okay. I mean, weird. Just no consistency in the decisions that he makes. Yeah, look, Detroit's fine. They're better defensively, but they're poorly coached, in my opinion. I mean, just in terms of in-game strategy, I think you have to take a look at that and kind of give it a minus. And look, I'm not high on Seattle at all this year, but 6 points. I mean, everyone thought the Seattle team was a 10, 11 win team just a week and a half ago, and now they're a 6-point dog in Detroit against a team who goes on the road and beats Kansas City. I mean, this says overreaction all over it. That's all.
Okay, and wanted to just continue to get through a couple more of these games here, and I wanted to bring up the line on the Chargers Titans. Right now, Chargers are 3 totals coming in at 45.5. It screams under to me. Under, I don't know why. And whenever the Titans play at home, dude, they had in the last 18 games, they've gone under 14 times at home. But you get the Chargers here who dropped 36 last week off a loss. And by the way, they had that game won. JC Jackson's an idiot on just a ball up in the air with the pass interference on that play. I thought that was brutal. But I thought the Titans competed, and Tannehill was so awful, yet still had a chance to win the game. But coaching again, Dan, you're down 4 in the fourth quarter, and you kick a field goal? What are you
Why?
doing?
What is Vrabel doing? But was he playing for the fucking cover? Did he bet on them to cover? Like, fuck you, Mike Vrabel, because I had the Saints -3. Again, I got absolutely slaughtered in the NFL last week. Again, I also had the Chargers -3. I mean, they had that game won, the fucking end of the field goal at the end of the half. It shouldn't even matter. They still had it won. Just horrible, horrible defensive play from the Chargers. Horrible. But again, offensively, they were great, right? Herbert, 23, 33, 228 in the touchdown. Austin Eckler, 16 carries, 117 yards in the touchdown. I don't know. It's still embarrassingly bad, in my opinion. Embarrassingly bad, for defensively. They have to be better this week. Tannehill was horrendous last week. I assume he'll be better this week. So, again, probably moving up to, the law of averages and just kind of figuring things out here. I mean, I like the Chargers again here, but I won't bet it. No, I'm kind of done with them right now until they can kind of prove a little bit to me. It's hard to bet them right now.
One thing I'll say is the Chargers really held Miami in check on the ground. So I'm curious, dude. And Derrick Henry, man, I'm telling you, he looked explosive in that game. They didn't give him the ball enough, I thought, and they need more from Tajay Spears. He's got to be more. I know he's a rookie, but dude, rookies played well in week 1 of the NFL. I think they need a little bit more from him. And then look at the Chargers side of it. Austin Eckler's hurt. He rushed for 119 yards last week. So keep that in mind. I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think he's going to play. I'd be surprised if he doesn't play. I mean, I know they're not going to practice him all week and whatever. He has an ankle injury, but it doesn't sound super, super serious. So I think he's going to play. We'll see. I mean, I actually more concerned with the Tennessee secondary. Amani Hooker, questionable still, and Christian Fulton got hurt in that game against the Saints with a hamstring injury. I do not think that he's going to play.
All right. I had Cleveland last week. Most of my Cleveland was somewhat of a fade of Cincinnati. Joe Burrow, new contract, not practicing at all. Their new secondary, and just based off they've had slow starts over the last couple of years. I mentioned they're one of 2 teams a year ago to start 0-2 and make the playoffs. It hasn't happened in 3 years. The other team to do that was the Titans that we were just talking about here. But they're 3.5 right now on DraftKings. 3.5. So I feel like people automatically are going to think they lost last week. Let's jump on them this week. I did have Baltimore last week. I am a little curious on this one. I mean, should the Bengals be favored? And against some of these top 10 offenses, the Bengals have played well. They've kept up. I kind of liked what Todd Monken did with the Ravens offense last week, and Zay Flowers looks like I thought Zay Flowers looked really good. I did. Yeah. I watched the whole game because I thought the Texans were a little bit better than I thought. And even with a rookie and new coach and etc. But I still in this spot kind of leaning Baltimore despite the bounce back off a team losing, being favored the next week. I'm still processing it, but I'm not sold on Cincinnati this week.
Yeah, first bet I made was Cincinnati -3. I think that's an easy bet.
It's 3.5. It's 3.5 right now, though. It's 3.5.
I know. Yeah, no, I know. I watched Baltimore. I did not see what you saw. I thought Todd Monken was horrible. I thought the offense was horrible. They couldn't move the ball.
10.
They did. They did because
They
the
covered.
Texans. Well, sure, and they sure did. I didn't think the Texans could move the ball at all. And again, there were times where CJ Stroud was able to do a little bit. I really thought they were going to be better than what they showed. But I mean, look at the Ravens stats. I mean, just go and look what they did. They had less yards than less yards than the Texans, same amount of first downs, less passing yards. They had 4 more penalties. I thought they were horrendous. Also turned the ball over one more time. Lamar Jackson didn't play well. I was surprised that Baltimore was able to win the way that they were. Had a big third quarter and pulled away. But at halftime, this was a 7-6 ball game. I mean, there was nothing impressive by what Todd Monken did. Very concerning, actually, in my opinion. And I'm heavily invested in the Ravens. Very concerned about the Baltimore Ravens. The one bright spot you mentioned was Zay Flowers, 9 receptions, 78 yards. Flowers is one of the 2 guys that took for offensive rookie of the year. I hope he wins. That'd be a huge win for me if he does, because I took him pretty big. I'd love that. I'd absolutely love that in regards to that. In regards to the other side, look, it was a divisional ball game in Cleveland, and the weather was horrendous. If the weather isn't horrendous, this is a different ball game because, they couldn't move the ball for the first quarter and a half, 2 quarters. And by that time, Cleveland's up 10-0, I think, at the end of the half. So to me, that was the ball game. Just the weather absolutely killed any sort of momentum Cincinnati had. They couldn't run the ball with Mixon, 13 carries, 56 yards, because they're not a running team. They're a team that passes to set up the run, and they couldn't move the ball. Joe Burrow couldn't move the ball. This is different. This is going to be a very different ball game. The weather is not going to be nearly as bad. It's supposed to be nice and sunny in Cincinnati. I think Burrow is pissed about last week. Obviously, I think the injury did affect him a little bit, but again, to me, it was a big weather thing. That was, to me, the big issue was the weather and the lack of the ability to move the ball, and the Browns secondary playing at an exceptionally elite level. Well, the Ravens don't have that secondary. Okay, they're a fine defensive team, definitely not bad by any means, but they're not elite in the secondary whatsoever. They lose their starting running back. He's out for the season, J.K. Dobbins, which is concerning. They also got beat up quite a bit in that game. Tyler Linderbaum sprained his ankle. It does not sound like he's going to play. He's expected to be out week 2, so they lose their center. Marlon Humphrey, the corner, he has a shot to play, but maybe he plays, but it doesn't sound like he's going to play at the cornerback spot. Ronnie Staley's expected to be out. He suffered a sprained ankle. Mark Andrews is questionable still. So I don't know, man. I'm still super concerned about this team and about where they're, able to go and all that. So to me, I don't know. I would be very concerned. Give me the Cincinnati Bengals -3.5. I think win this by probably go away. Baltimore was fine, but I think they have some things to work on offensively. Monken was bad. I'm a big Monken guy. Really am. Monken was really bad in that game.
Ravens have been crushing on underdogs. 19-3. Their last 22 as an underdog outright, covering the spread. And last year they battled very well in the playoff game without Lamar Jackson against the Bengals. Bengals had to sneak that one out a year ago. I think it's gonna be a close game. Right now, I lean Ravens, but let's see how it goes. One that I'm on this week, and some people see a team one week and then they get on them, and then the next week they jump on them. This isn't the case for me. When I talk Packers Falcons, I just feel like the Packers can run the football. It's like what they can do. They have 2 guys that they can lean on, and I thought Jordan Love can lean on that, and I think he can throw against this Falcons offense. Falcons covered. And I watched. It wasn't pretty. Bijan, though, looked outstanding. But I still feel like Green Bay's pass defense, I don't think they're going to feel pressure from Desmond Ridder. I know it's on the road. I know the Falcons are at home. I like the Packers.
No, I agree here. Right. You want to ring it? All right, let's ring it.
Yeah, let's ring it. -1.5. I just want to make sure the line on it. Just to show everybody. 2. Oh, well, Packers are 2 now. 2 right now. Whatever, I'll take it.
Okay. This one's tough for me. Look, I both these teams I think suck. I know the Packers killed the Bears. I don't think the Bears are anything great shakes either. You know how bad down I was on Carolina, Joe. I was also down in this Atlanta team. So again, hard for me to kind of go into it. Look, if Atlanta does what they did last week, they're going to get the shit blown out of them by the Packers. And the Packers are, again, in my opinion, no great shakes. But what the Packers will do, well, they'll get pressure on you, and they'll turn the ball over. Desmond Ridder, 15 of 18, 150 yards and a touchdown. Didn't have to do much. They got some short fields there. They ran the ball with Tyler Algier in the red zone. I was really impressed with Bijan. That one play, the touchdown in the second quarter was unbelievable. Unbelievable play by Bijan there. But obviously the Aaron Jones stuff. What is going to happen with the Packers now? If they don't have Aaron Jones, I think that's a massive downgrade for the Packers. I'd probably make it more of a pick 'em. And even then, I still can't do anything. Quay Walker had a concussion. From what it sounds like, I don't think Aaron Jones is going to play, by the way. So that's a problem. I don't think Christian Watson's going to play, who didn't play last week. So I think that's a problem. Jeff Okuda's still questionable for Atlanta this week. Cordarrelle Patterson didn't play last week. I mean, I think I think Patterson might play this week from what it sounds like. But nonetheless, I mean, I just don't see how Atlanta moves the ball much this year. If teams know how to play them, and again, I think that Carolina team sucks. But I think if teams know how to play them, I think it's going to be really tough. This is a game, again, if I'm going to bet this game, it's at half once I see the game. It's a complete pass for me. I really don't know. But I mean, if I had to gun to the head, I'd probably lean Green Bay. And again, on terms of the total, 40.5, I know we haven't talked a ton of totals here. 40.5, I mean, to me, I'm under on this game. Like, I don't think Atlanta's going to score much. And I think Green Bay is probably not going to be able to do what they did against the Bears defense either. And especially without potentially Aaron Jones. I'm looking under in this game. I already bet under 41.5.
Bucks Bears. I'm not putting any money on the Bears as a road underdog. I know they beat the Pats last year. They haven't won a game since. They have not won a game since. And I thought maybe Baker Mayfield looked comfortable, and this has nothing to really do with him, or it's more just about the Bears on the road. Are they worth a shot here? And although I don't think the Bucks are great, I looked this up. The two worst road underdogs in football: Bears, Bucks, and here they are meeting this week. Just can't put my money on the Bears.
I don't give a shit about what happened in the past. Like, I can't care about the teams last year. You know what I mean?
Oh, I'm just bringing up Justin Fields in general. He sucks on the road.
I get it.
His one win was against the Pats last year.
Can we just say this? Justin Fields is not an NFL quarterback. How many times do we need to? Oh, they got DJ Moore. Oh, they're so good. They finally have offensive weapons. Can we just admit it now? Like, he's not an NFL quarterback. He's a running back. If you give him like a real quarterback, right, and you use him in the running back spot, the Bears would be a significantly better team. That's my opinion. It's never going to change. I'm sure we have a bunch of Bears fans who listen to this podcast. Every single week I hear about, oh, it wasn't his fault. Oh, it was the offensive line. Oh, he doesn't have weapons. Oh, it's this. No, Justin Fields sucks. I watch him every single game at Ohio State. Every single game. He's not an accurate passer. He's never going to be. It's not who he is. Okay? You got to accept that. That being said, Tampa Bay faced a team that looked like they were just dead. I mean, they looked dead. And they still threw for almost 350 yards all over them. So I expect this Bucs team, they couldn't run the football. All they did was Baker Mayfield, tried hard and made some plays. I just don't think that that's going to fly this week. Even though Justin Fields can't throw for shit and make stupid decisions, the guy can move the ball. He can run. And I think that's all they're going to do. They just run the football. I mean, and they'll just be successful doing that. They didn't run Khalil Herbert enough last week. They, 9 carries, 27 yards wasn't good. Justin Fields and Khalil Herbert. Herbert should have more carries than Fields. Roshan Johnson was fine. Maybe they'll give him a little bit more burn this week. He had 5 carries, 20 yards, and a touchdown. Obviously, DJ Moore, terrible. 2 receptions, 25 yards. He won't be that bad this week. They're going to take advantage of this Bucs secondary, who I think is, again, still weak. I think the Bears probably find a way to win this game. I am a little bit concerned about the Kyler Gordon injury, see if he plays. But the Bucs got banged up. Khalil Kancey had a calf injury in that game. I don't think he's going to play this week from what it sounds like. And Levante David, he got forced out with with a concussion. Excuse me, not a foot injury. I'm looking at someone else. Levante David got a concussion. It doesn't sound like he might not be ready either, although I assume that they'll probably put him back on the field, although it sounds like they're being negative right now. Give me the Bears +3. This This is an easy one here. To me, I think this is one of the easier ones of the week. The Bears are going to not only cover, they win this game. They suck, but the Bucks are no great shakes. They, once again, week one, everyone overreacts to what they saw week one, and then week two is overreaction week. Don't overreact to week one. I will say though, Justin Fields sucks. That's not overreaction. It's been 3 years now. We've seen him he just sucks.
Bears have lost 10 straight games, all of them with Justin Fields as the quarterback. Let's see here. Colts, Texans. The Colts are a favorite, and that's a fade right there for me. The fact that they're a favorite, I just think that's a bad spot for them. Just the one, dude, 1-6, and again, new quarterback, new everything. I don't know what Richardson's going to do, but them as a favorite hasn't been successful, has not been profitable. At times, though, I thought Stroud, when he had time, looked good. Again, watching the Ravens game, I thought when he had time, he did look good. I don't know where to go with this one. Colts probably should have covered last week. So I know it's a divisional game, Colts favored on the road. I just hate it. So I'm out on it, but I'm not taking the Colts.
Yeah, I'm not either. I lean Texans here. I'm not going to bet it, but I definitely lean Texans here. Again, I thought the Colts were fine last week. I thought they were good. They definitely should have covered. Probably should have won that game. So if we're being perfectly honest with each other, probably should have found a way to win that game. But they just couldn't run the football. And again, that's what's going to be effective against the Texans. At least in my opinion. Again, the way that the Ravens moved the ball against the Texans was not in the air; it was on the ground. 110 rushing yards against Houston. I mean, that's the way to beat them. That's the way to beat this team. Lamar Jackson, 17 to 22, 169 yards in the pick. And remember, he has Zay Flowers, he has Odell Beckham, and he has Rashad Bateman. I mean, we're not talking about three superstars, but, that's a good wide receiver core. You didn't have Mark Andrews last week. I get it. I don't know if you saw the passing breakdown chart for Anthony Richardson, Joe, but it seems that Anthony Richardson has a problem passing to his left. I expect that the Texans will notice that and will make adjustments to that this week and force Anthony Richardson to throw to his left. And if that's the case, I mean, look, I like the Texans here. I'm a little bit higher on the Texans again than maybe some other people are. Was not. I said last week. I think I said. Anything below 10, I like the Ravens. Anything above 10 or above, I like the Texans. This week, to me, if the Texans are a dog, I lean the dog. I think it's 1.5. What's it on DraftKings right now, Joe? Do you know?
The line is one Colts favored and 40 is the total.
Okay, one. Yeah, so one. I don't think it matters. 1.5. I still lean the Texans here. I think they get it done. Total 40. Weird total. I think it's kind of low, actually, surprisingly enough. I kind of like the over in this game. You mentioned Stroud looked better than you thought. Again, I didn't think their offense was great, but I didn't think Baltimore's offense was great either. I do think the Colts can move the ball a little bit. As long as Richardson is healthy, he'll be able to scramble. He'll be able to move the ball a little bit. But yeah, give me whatever. Give me Houston in that game.
All right, San Fran and the Rams, 4:00 games. I'm sure you've probably seen the numbers on McVay versus Shanahan. Shanahan's dominated the matchup. I just don't like a team that blew someone out off a team that won outright as a dog being favored by more than a touchdown. So although I think the 49ers are the better team, there's a home dog getting 7.5. I don't have a side on it. I know that the 49ers blew doors last week, and maybe there's a lot of people behind that. So that's why I don't want to be on that spot. But I do think the Rams kind of win. How do they bounce back in this spot here? This one's a tough one for me. I'm probably going to lay off it, but I just don't like the number of 7.5 off a team that won by 30 or whatever it was last week.
Yeah, I mean, look. By the way, another team that I was really down on, Pittsburgh. Good Lord, everyone still think that Mike Tomlin's a good fucking head coach. Again, not to overreact, but Jesus Christ, that team was not prepared to play that game. You think they weren't prepared? They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't do anything. This week, I think that we'll see a little bit more of a competitive matchup. Again, I think the Rams are better than what people think. I think the Rams probably, to me, is probably a little bit of a competitive game. The Rams don't play as well. Seattle's certainly not up to par with San Francisco. I think San Francisco best team in the NFC. Yeah, Brock Purdy probably won't be nearly as effective. He was really, really good last week. Very, very good. I'm very impressed. Brandon Ayuk was fantastic for him. Christian McCaffrey, of course, 22 carries, 152 yards, and a touchdown. Fantastic last week. Especially in that 65-yard run. Let's see what happens here this week, Joe. With the Niners. I lean under. I know that there was a market move from 42.5 to 44.5, and that was a pretty sizable move. I lean under in this game early on. I just think that, again, divisional game in LA. I think, which again is probably more of a neutral game than a home game, to be honest with you. I think, again, I think LA probably tries to run the ball. They aren't as effective. They have to pass a little bit more. Probably doesn't go as well. And I think the 49ers won't be nearly as explosive offensively. Pittsburgh was not ready to go in that game. Mike Tomlin did not have them prepared. That's the reality of the situation.
Only other thing I would say is I wonder if the 49ers will run the ball a little bit more or try to. Also, the total is something that I'm kind of looking at in this one. Again, right now it's 44.5. I would hate to take an under in this spot, but I don't know, 44.5. It's kind of screaming to me right now.
Yeah, that's literally just what I said. Those aren't listening.
Yep. No, I know. I'm backing you. I'm saying that the 44.5 is probably what I'm looking at. Giants and Cardinals. The old 5.5. Home underdog getting 5.5 versus the Giants. Giants look putrid. I don't even think they got off the bus, man. But they were 7-0 last year off a loss against the spread. So, and they won all those games by 7 or more, Dan. So you want to base it off that? This is the spot. I just didn't think Arizona looked that horrible, but now they're getting 5.5 at home. Like they almost covered a week. I just looked. Oh, they did cover last week. Sorry.
No, did it
I don't know. Now the Giants got to go on the road, but for some reason, dude, the Giants are just a better away team than a home team. But I'm not backing them in this spot though.
Yeah, I like the Giants here. It's definitely square, but I like the Giants here. Arizona was fine. I thought Washington probably beat themselves more than Arizona actually did anything. Again, they had 210 total yards last week. Washington had 250 total yards. They had eight penalties for 69 yards. Arizona, 9 penalties for 122 yards. If they do that this week, they're going to struggle. The Cowboys are just better than this team. The Giants are going to regress this year, right? Danny Dimes not a contract year. The coaching staff is a little bit different. I think the shine has been taken off this team a little bit, and the Cowboys didn't have to do anything defensively. They dominated that game. Arizona defensively, they're fine. They're not horrendous, but I just don't think that they're going to be nearly as good. Remember, the Giants had a chance to go up 3-0 in that game, and Dallas blocked the field goal, and they returned it for a touchdown. So, again, if the Giants go up 3-0 in that game, we might be talking about a completely different ball game because I'm not sure they get demoralized. After that, it was just destruction from there. The field goal and then the pick six. And, from then on, it was just, it was a runaway train. I'm not high on New York. We talked about if you listen to the NFL podcast, not high on New York. I still think Arizona finds a way to be competitive in games, but I agree. New York should bounce back. They're too well coached in this situation. They'll not bounce back by a touchdown. I like the Giants laying the points. I took it 4. It was 4 yesterday before the sizable move to 5.5. You can probably still find it out there. Is it square? Absolutely. You got to mix in sharp and square in the NFL. You just can't be sharp. Every sharp side doesn't win. Look at last week, right? And every square side doesn't win. So you got to mix in sharp and square if you're betting the NFL. Yep, I like the Giants here.
All right, the Jets are without Aaron Rodgers for the rest of the year, and the line has moved dramatically in this Cowboys game. It's gone from like 2.5 to 9. Right
10.
now, 9 on DraftKings. 10. Okay, I thought 9 right now on DraftKings.
Oh, 9 on DraftKings. Okay, it's 10. It's up to 10 now. Most places 9.5, 10.
So, couple of things I'm looking at in this one, just Jets wise. Jets off an emotional win, and also they got the Patriots on deck. So Cowboys, maybe they're a little overvalued from what we saw last week. So that's a big move. That's a touchdown move if you really look at it. So I don't like that line movement just off the bat. I don't like that. But can the Jets defense give Dak Prescott? I'm just curious if they can the Jets keep it within 10? And I'm wondering if I'm starting to wonder, Dan, if I would bet on that. I'm starting to look at it, but I mentioned the Patriots on deck. I wonder if that could be in their head too.
No, I don't think it is. I think with Zach Wilson at this point, you're doing everything you have to do to prepare him, right? I don't think you can look ahead at this point, Joe. Now, look, it's super emotional win, so I think you have to downgrade New York a little bit there. Again, I know that goes against everyone's personal instincts. That's how I operate. If you have a super emotional win, I think you go down a little bit from there. I don't think you go up. I think it's a kind of a different way of viewing things. I downgrade teams off emotional wins. I would also argue that the Cowboys, you downgrade a little bit off a blowout win, right? They're probably not as good as they looked. So people are going to probably upgrade them, a half a point to a point in a power ranking? I would say maybe a quarter of a point, because a blowout win usually means that the other team probably did more wrong than you did right. This is not San Francisco where they're just super talented. They're talented, but this is a team that just blocked a field goal. From then on, the other team just kind of shit their pants. Dallas is fine. I took Dallas to win the division this year, Joe. I think they're good. I think a touchdown, really a 6.5 point move, because I think the look at was 3. 6.5 point move is a lot, and if this does get up to 10, I'll take the Jets. I think that's a little too much here for me. The Jets are, Zach Wilson sucks, 100%, no doubt about it. Is he probably going to throw a pick 6 or do something fucking stupid? Guaranteed, absolutely. But they should be able to run the ball against the Cowboys, and I also think on the other coin, other side of the coin, we didn't see bad Dak the other night. We didn't see any big mistakes from Prescott. You know what that means? There's going to be like 2 or 3 that happened this week, and if there's a team that's going to, I think, going to capitalize on it, it's the Jets. So I think, I think the Jets have a real chance, honestly, guys, to win this game. I know that sounds crazy, but I do. I think the Jets have a chance. Breece Hall looked fantastic. If they can run the ball with him and Dalvin Cook, who I think the combo were really, really effective in that game. If they can run the ball and Zach Wilson can just not do incredibly stupid things, just manage the game, just, dink and dunk, throw the ball here and there. He came in and won that game without any preparation. So to me, I think the Jets have a chance to win this game outright. I'm waiting for the 10. I think it gets the 10. I'd wait there and see if you can get that anywhere. But I do like the Jets here, Joe.
All right, Washington Broncos. Broncos at home. The line's 3.5. I hate that. I already like Washington off the bat. But, dude, Denver as a home favorite's been awful. And then just in general, like when I look at them, home favorite, this is going back to last season. They were awful as a home favorite. And in general, they've been terrible as a favorite. And here they are, 3.5. It makes me wonder a little bit here, like when Vegas sets this line, I know they're doing it to get money on both sides here, but I don't necessarily know if I can back Sam Howell on the road in Denver, but I hate the fact that Denver's a home favorite here. So I'm out on this game because it's you would think it's Denver, but I'm not backing them. And then Washington, I want to back, but I don't trust Sam Howell. I'm out on this game.
Yeah, easy. This is Denver. This is the easiest spot on the board. Don't be scared of this one, Joe. This is the easiest spot on the board. You have a good coach team that struggled a little bit last week, that ran the ball effectively, played good defense, and got unlucky with some penalties at the wrong time of the game, versus a team that shouldn't have won against the Arizona Cardinals at home. Don't overthink this one. This is a bad Washington team. Bad. They're still bad. I thought Sam Howell in the preseason, oh man, he looks so good. No, he sucked. 19-31. His QBR was 45.4. It was, in my opinion, he was barely more effective than Josh Dobbs. I thought at times Dobbs is actually more effective than he was, which is crazy. The reason they won the game is because Brian Robinson was actually had some effective runs. 19 carries for 59 yards. He was fine. Look, they did a little bit. Washington also lost 2 fumbles. They recovered 2 fumbles, but they did the same. Josh Dobbs could not hold the fucking ball, which is a concern. He had 3 fumbles last game. Just won't hold up. But Washington made their plethora of mistakes. I think Denver turns them over multiple times. There are rumors that Jerry Jeudy is back. Remember, the Broncos are playing without their number 1 wide receiver last week. Well, this week, Jerry Jeudy could be back for them. And if Judy's back, that's a massive upgrade. Dolchich is going to be out. I don't know how much of a downgrade that is. I mean, I'm not really super impressed by him anyways. I kind of think Trotman might be better fit for this offense. So I'm not super concerned about that. And also, again, the Commanders' defensive line was fantastic. They really won the game, in my opinion. They're going to have a much harder time. I think the Denver Broncos' offense line is much better. And Chase Young, it doesn't sound like he's going to play this game either. So, again, I really like Denver. To me, this is, again, one of the easier spots on the board this week. Don't be scared. You know this, Joe. You lay the 3.5. You take the 2.5. Simple rules here. You know that. You know that better than anyone. The Broncos are the side here. They're bouncing back, yeah. And the Commanders were terrible.
No, I get it. I just bringing up the fact that the Denver as a home favorite has been so bad. But I will say they were very competitive last week, despite Russell Wilson, man. Woof, woof, woof. But I do feel like at home they bounce back. It's just the 3.5. It's
I get it.
I will say this though, it's not Washington. I'm not backing them on the road in this spot. Sunday Night Football features the Dolphins and the Patriots. So there's a couple of things with the Dolphins that I want to pump the brakes on a little bit. Their defense still gave up 34 points last week. Like,
they suck.
and here's the deal. I mentioned this already. If the Patriots want to win this game, it's very simple. They got to get their running game back. I'm wondering if maybe the Pats kept out Cole Strange and Michael Nwanu last week to get them back for a divisional game this week. But they can run on the Dolphins, dude. And I know Tyreek Hill went off. Jonathan Jones has defended him very well. So I'd watch for that matchup here. Although I know Tua went for 400, the Patriots did finally get a win last year. Now it was without Tua at the end of last year, but the Patriots defense has held them to 20 and 21 respectively the last few games. Mac Jones 1-3 against Tua. If you want to just get that matchup in there, Patriots have struggled against the AFC East end. That's been historic there, but it's 2.5 right now. I lean the Patriots with the number at the moment. And I think the Patriots can play good defense, run the football. That's their recipe for success. I don't think Mac Jones throwing 54 times is at the moment. And it's gone from 2 to 2.5 right now. If it can move a little bit more, I want the Patriots. But right now, my lean is Patriots. I think the Patriots can't start 0-2. Dan, I wrote about it. Oh, teams that go 0-2 make the playoffs only 9.5% of the time. And here's another stat. Teams that start 0-2 average anywhere between 5 and 6 wins a year, and that's with the expanded playoff. Pats can't start 0-2. I have a feeling this is a really good spot for them based off Miami being a little bit inflated from last week.
I'm not worried about going 0-2 because I think that the one team that can do it is the Patriots. They treat things very differently than most other teams. So while, I understand that statistic bears out maybe over a long period of time, it's also going to be different with the extended game. Now you have one extra game. So I'm not sure how, that decreases the value, of a game almost 5 to 6%. I mean, that's a huge deprivation of a game. Like that's the reality of the situation of just one game dropping about 5 to 6% in value. That's massive, in my opinion. So I think that stat is going to turn out to be flawed over time. with a 16-game schedule, sure. 17-game schedule, I don't know. We'll see how it works out. But I'm not gonna say everyone's saying, "Oh, the season's over." They go into. I completely disagree with that, especially with this division, because there are so many questions about this division now. Without Rodgers, Josh Allen looks like shit, and everyone thinks that Tua is the MVP after last week. Go look at what Tua did against the Chargers last year in this game. The whole reason the Chargers lost this game is because of coaching, and I don't know what happened and what the difference was last year. The Chargers played, they played double man on Tyreek Hill. He had 4 receptions, 81 yards, and a touchdown. He beat them. He's Tyreek Hill. He's going to get you for probably a touchdown, close to it, and 70, 80 yards every game. That's who he is, okay? Tua went 10 of 28, 145 yards and a touchdown against the Chargers. Last year, in basically the same secondary, they just changed the coaching. They changed their strategy for whatever reason, and Tua goes off 28 of 45, 466 yards, 3 touchdowns. This was a pure coaching thing. It had nothing to do with talent or some crazy disparity. They changed the strategy. Tua took advantage of it, and Tyreek Hill demolished them. I don't get it. You know who doesn't make stupid decisions like that? You can say whatever you want about Bill with regards to roster decisions and stupid stuff like that. You know who puts together good defensive game plans mostly week in and week out? Bill Belichick. You know what he does? He'll do the same thing. Now, is Tua have a chance to beat them? Absolutely. But Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle did not kill the Patriots in the 2 games last year. They just haven't. And I think in the 4 games combined that they, Tua's played, he hasn't killed them. Miami's been the better team, and they've had more talent. I don't know if that's the case anymore. And I think people are wildly overestimating what happened last week. Patriots should have won that game. Okay, they outgained the Philadelphia Eagles by 130 fucking yards. 130 fucking yards. They dominated them in the air. They had 2 holding calls which ruined them, and the pick 6 and the fumble. That's it. I mean, that's the difference in the game. So no, Mac Jones can't make a stupid decision again this week. He has to be better. But I thought we saw as the game went on, Jones was significantly better. In fact, he got way stronger. In the second quarter and the fourth quarter, I thought were his best quarters of the game. I thought he was fantastic in the game last week. Honestly, he had a bad decision, absolutely, but I thought he was fantastic. Ezekiel Elliott, big reason you lost the game, and I thought the 2 phantom holding calls were big reason you lost the game. You had a makeshift offensive line that I thought held up pretty well. I heard Greg Bedard come in, and him with Felger Mazza took a giant dump all over the Patriots in the offensive line. I don't know what the fuck you watched. I watched a very different game, and I like Greg, but I don't know what he watched. We watched very different ball games. The Patriots with backup offensive linemen played pretty well against one of the best defensive lines in the league. Miami this week has a horrendous secondary who is already banged up and already struggling, and I think a significantly worse defensive line. You mentioned, Joe, I think there should be some health here for the Patriots in terms of their defensive line. I've heard the offensive line, excuse me. I've heard the same thing as well. Now, Teron Armstead, I don't think is going to play. That's a huge issue for them. Huge issue if that's the case. I don't know about Devontae Parker. I doubt Parker plays. But I do think that at least one of Onwenu and Strange, if not both, are going to play. I think Miami's super inflated off that number. I'm waiting to see if this gets to 3. If this gets to 3 minus 115, I'll take the Patriots. 3 minus 120 is probably too close for me still. 3 minus 115, and I'm probably on the Patriots. I don't know if we're going to get there. Joe. The total up to 46.5, under. I mean, again, big move, open 44.5, big move up to the over, under. Like these 2 teams always play grinded out games.
And I mentioned the Patriots defense, 20 and 21 the last 2 meetings. They've held them in check considering they dropped 36 last week.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this again because I don't know why people still don't get it. Even the sharper people in the market. Divisional games are different. They're not the same. They're not the same as interconference games, not the same as out-of-conference games. Divisional games are different. These teams know each other so well, what they want to do, how they want to do it, how they want to be effective. I just think that, honestly, Joe, I think this is going to be a close game. 3 with the Patriots, I like. 2.5, probably teaser territory. The Patriots win a teaser. That's probably the way I'd look.
The one thing I'll touch on that Bill Belichick thing. He has great schemes, and that's why I think he's a great coach. I do. I think the biggest problem for the Patriots right now is I don't know if they know how to win anymore, and
Agreed.
at times they don't know how to avoid losing. And they had this is why Mac Jones is starting to turn for me. Is he took all the accountability this week?
I
It was
love
all
that.
It was Belichick, dude. Belichick left points on the field, went for it on a
Agreed.
4th and 17 before a 2-minute warning with 3
Agreed.
timeouts. What are you doing?
I agree. Weird, terrible fucking decision. And then, but I mean, seriously, Philadelphia made a fucking terrible decision. Instead of punting the ball and making the Patriots go essentially like 90 yards, they decided to fucking go for it and didn't. I mean, it was just bad coaching. I thought the whole game was bad coaching. But I'd like that Mac took responsibility. It doesn't matter whether or not it was his fault. He's trying to step up and be a leader and take accountability for not winning. And again, also I heard on Felger and Maz from Bedard and those bozos this week that, oh no, that's so stupid. He shouldn't have taken accountability. Why? That's what a good leader does. Even if it's not your fault, you're the fucking leader of the team. You take accountability. Sometimes, and look, I love those guys. I fucking hate when they all get together in that room and start fucking having a good time with that, because I just don't understand what they're saying. I thought that was a terrible take by them. Good job by Matt Jones for showing leadership. We're on a team that badly needs it. Stupid.
Oh yeah, and dude, look at him though. He's in the dude. This is one of the reasons why I didn't like Mac Jones. The when you have shitty body language, any sport, baseball, football, whatever, it shows on the field and it affects your play. And he didn't let it bother him this week, and he took ownership. The only thing I will say is this: I kind of wish they came up with plays that threw it to the sticks. Like, as much as people want to get in, like last year, there was a check down by Kirk Cousins at the end of the game on a 4th down that was like 7 yards behind. Call plays that get to the sticks. That's the one thing I would call on 4th down. Like, do that. I think coaching had everything to do with the Patriots being in the game and losing the game. McDaniel, I like personally from the Dolphins. I think he's just this quirky coach. But we'll see. We'll see this week.
He's okay. He has good moments and bad moments. He
but
can't coach defense.
I will say though, is down on the Patriots as I am, it's because I hope last week wasn't their ceiling, is all I'm saying. I hope last week wasn't their ceiling. And dude, keep your eye. There's something going on with Juju Smith-Schuster. I was just reading. Bill Belichick was talking at the podium this morning, and he said the injury report's coming out today when they asked about Juju Smith-Schuster. So there's something there, Dan. There is.
I heard it's not an injury related thing. That's all.
All right, there we go. There we go. Now something is there. It smells. Something smells.
There is something there, but I don't think it's injury related. If that helps.
All right. Well, there we go. There.
We'll see. I know. Dakota said something else, but
Bill Belichick would have just been like, he's not on the injury. He would have said something, or he would have talked him up, right? Like, he would have done something and said. Instead, he goes right to the injury report.
Yeah, I think that's how he answers that question all the time, though.
True. Very true. All right. Yeah, I'm waiting on the line on that one. I wonder if more money comes in on the Dolphins and then you take the Pats. All right, a couple more here. Do we miss a game? I don't know why.
We have two Monday night games. That's it.
That's what it is. Saints, Panthers. I had the Panthers last week. I still feel fine about it, even though they lost. Now they're 3.5-point home dogs versus the Saints, who pulled out a win. Right now, Dan, I got nothing on this. Since it's a Monday Night Football game, I need more time to look at it. But I didn't think Bryce Young was terrible. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, Frank Reich is supposed to be this, guy with an offensive mind, and we'll see. But at times, I didn't think Derek Carr looked awful either. But it's 3.5 right now as New Orleans as a road favorite in this one.
Yeah, I like Carolina here. It's at 3. If this gets to 3.5 minus 110, which actually I already found this, I already took Carolina on that number. But if you find it, because we're using DraftKings right now, it's 3.5 minus 120. I'm not going to PP that. 3.5 minus 110. I would play with Carolina. Yeah, rookie quarterbacks, Joe. Yours is you want a trend? Here's a real trend for you. Rookie quarterbacks in their number one overall picks in their first start are like 1-17 against the spread or something. It's something insane. I don't have the exact stat in
Yeah,
front of me. I'll see if I can
113
pull
and
it up.
1.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah. So
114 and 1.
so if you bet it, so there you go. Caleb Williams next year, fade him week 1. Okay, there you go. Is that easy enough? Everyone next year, don't buy in. Fade him week 1. The end. Nice and easy, nice and to the point. Fade him week 1. I thought the Saints were unimpressive last week. Unimpressive is a good way to put it. This whole division sucks. I hope the Saints win and the Panthers cover. That'd be the best situation for me. I think Carolina probably responds here. They're probably a little bit better than they showed last week, especially in the second half. They got absolutely slaughtered in that game, especially by the run. I don't think New Orleans is going to be able to be nearly as effective on the ground. They're going to have to sling it with Derek Carr. If that's the case, I like Carolina. Give me the 3.5 there. Eventually, again, I'm not going to PP right now, but I will take the 3.5.
All righty. And then finally, it's Steelers Browns. Browns are -2 on the road. Dan, how many times has someone told you Mike Tomlin is an underdog and they got smoked last week? So here they are again as a 2-point dog. I don't know if this line has anything to do with what Cleveland did last week. I don't think it does. And let's not forget, Cleveland did beat Pittsburgh in the playoffs a few years ago at home. Deshaun Watson, I'm telling you, I'm only going by what I saw in the preseason and what I saw last week. I'm not saying he's back, but he looks determined.
Oh, you looked terrible last week. I don't know what you're talking about.
He looked determined, though.
His arm is dead.
He can still run the ball, though, and that's where he can hurt you. And he had a nice big run for a touchdown last week. I don't know if this is a spot where a team gets blown out and then you back them next week as a home dog. I feel like maybe that's where people will go on this one. I'm just still kind of I know you mentioned Watson wasn't great. I still kind of like Cleveland in this spot, even though a team got blown out last week. Pittsburgh at home has to play better. And a lot of people are very high on Pittsburgh this year. I gotta still, I gotta still digest this one a little bit more. Divisional dog at home. I know it looks very juicy, Dan. It looks very juicy.
Yeah. Again, another easy week 2 spot. Give me the Steelers +2. And honestly, I would wait if I were you. I'd wait if you're listening to this. I would wait and probably look for, for the 2.5. It's going to get the 2.5. It's going to get there. I found a 2.5 already. I think there's a really great teaser spot this week. Steelers to 8.5, Patriots to 8.5. I think to me, if you're looking for a teaser, it's a great teaser spot this week, at least in my opinion. I already bet that one. It's up to you, but that's the way I would approach it. 2 divisional dogs at home and getting 8.5 points. I love that spot for them. Look, I just disagree with Joe. I just disagree with your analysis of Sean Watson.
I just said divisional dog at home looks juicy.
No, I'm saying you're with your analysis of Watson. I thought he looked horrible. I thought he was lucky. I thought the defense won the game. Nick Chubb won the game. Honestly, Joe, I'm concerned about Watson. When they got him, I was like, oh boy, Cleveland's going to be good. They have a quarterback now. They figured it out. This guy can't play. Something's wrong with his arm. I don't know if he needs surgery or something. He can't throw. He's short hopping balls that he's getting his whole body weight into, and he's short hopping them. He's not throwing deep. These aren't like deep 50-yard throws. We're talking about a 20-yard throw, and he's short hopping it at Austin Cooper's feet. I can't. There's something wrong. There's something wrong with his arm. I don't know what it is. I don't know. Now, is he effective on the ground? Sure, he's always going to be able to be mobile, and that's always a plus. But Cleveland's defense won that game last week, no doubt about it. Pittsburgh wasn't ready to go. Mike Tomlin didn't have him ready to go. Terrible coaching. I have to assume, as I don't like Mike Tomlin, but I have to assume that he's a better coach than what they showed last week. He'll have his team ready to go for Monday night against a divisional opponent. This look ahead line was 1, Pittsburgh -1. That was the look ahead line. Now we're at Cleveland -2.5. Just a too crazy overreaction to, I thought, just a really good defensive game plan last week. I think Pittsburgh will be able to throw the ball a little bit, and the weather won't be horrendous. It won't be a torrential monsoon. So I like Pittsburgh here. When Deshaun Watson can show me that his arm is not dead, I'll believe it. I also think Pittsburgh's defense will come to play in this one. They got really embarrassed in that 49ers game. I think this is a bounce back spot for them. I think Pittsburgh's defense comes to play. TJ Watt comes to play. That defensive line, even though there is no Casey Hayward, he is out for the foreseeable future. I still think this team and that pretty decent secondary. Patrick Peterson got embarrassed. I think this team bounces back in a big way. I think they beat Cleveland pretty handily on Monday night.
All right, we've gone through the whole entire NFL slate. And I'm sure after this week, there'll be a lot of line movement based off how many divisional games that are happening. And I'm already looking ahead, Dan, to next week. The lines are already up here over at DraftKings for next week. So,
okay, can I ask you quickly? Patriots Jets at the total of 38.5.
I feel like it's going to be a little bit of a slug. I mean, I thought Breece Hall looked great.
He did, but that's an under game every time, right?
Yeah, it's considering Zach Wilson at home and et cetera. Yeah, and that's the other thing. When it comes to that game, Mac Jones and the Patriots have dominated Zach Wilson. They've just dominated him. Can they get past that? And can Mac win on the road? That's another one. But and listen, the 2 games they beat the Jets a year ago, one was a punt return. And the other, I think, was it convincing? I don't even remember in New York now that I'm thinking about it. I think Wilson was just so bad.
Yep.
So I still think he's their best option, Dan, Zach Wilson.
Yes, I mean, they're not, the Tom Brady stuff is fucking ridiculous. Like, they're not getting Tom Brady.
So, like Joe Flacco, I know he knows the offense, but you really want that? Like,
no, you have to go with
Wilson. You want Carson Wentz?
No, your Wilson is your best chance. He knows the offense. He knows the team. Some of those guys trust him. Obviously, Garrett Wilson likes him. Like, he was pumping him up. Like, he's your best fucking chance. And, barring going out and getting like a Jameis Winston, who even then, I don't know if that is a good fit for that offense. But like, barring going out and making a legitimate move like that, you go with Zach Wilson. I think the coach is right to say it's Wilson's team. And just go from there. Like, you're not winning anything this year. You're not winning the Super Bowl. So
I just hope he learned something. Like, at Hard Knocks, it looks like Rodgers did kind of take him under his wing and kind of show him how to run plays. He even told him when he sucked too.
Yep.
So maybe he learned something from that. But I'm just wondering if the team can rally around him.
Yeah,
because they knew that that was a playoff team last year without Zach Wilson was the problem. He was the problem last year.
Oh, I totally agree. There, you won't get an argument from me. I just think, like, you don't really have a lot of options at this point. Tom Brady's not signing with the fucking Jets. If you really believe that, you're a fucking idiot. I'm not parsing words. You're just fucking stupid if you think that. And at this point, who else are you gonna go get? Like Jameis Winston, I was the name bandied about. Like, okay, so Winston will throw for a bunch of yards and he'll constantly turn the ball over for them. He couldn't cut it with the Saints last year, and they have a similar offense.
I'd rather develop Wilson. Just go, get what you have. Just continue to keep developing them. Unless you want to bring, I don't know. I don't even think Phillip Rivers off the street can help you either, which is what the 49ers were considering if they went to the Super Bowl last year.
Sorry about that.
So that's it, Dan. Another week in the books. I'll have another 3-way for you this week. I'm waiting on some of these lines to see where they go, and so I'll have those for you guys on Saturday morning. And we got our college down, our NFL down. Another week in the books, and we will we'll have more picks all week long, and I know you guys will be on Saturday morning going through all the college and NFL games as well.
Well, we will play your 6 picks first thing in the morning.
4-2, by the way, last week. Only losses Alabama and the Bills, who woof.
My
All
only
right.
win last week was the Jets. So go figure.
These things have a way of turning around all the time, Dan. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
It's the best week in football, baby. Come is comeback week. You know, overreaction week, bounce back week, whatever you want to call it.
Somebody though is going to be disappointing. Some team is you're gonna think they're gonna come back and they're gonna suck, and then you're gonna fade them forever. Kind of like Illinois, even though you keep going back to the well on them.
No,
all right, that's it. Another edition of the Over Under Podcast.
Who you got? Good luck.